otherwise I get a...
Right, you got sound now?
Got sound now. Okay, that's good. There we go. Sorry, everybody. Every week there's another new technical issue. Yes, good. Good morning, Andy. Yep, very good. Well done, everybody. Actually, I came into the room about half an hour ago and we did all the tests and it was fine. It was fine, and then for some reason in that half an hour it did that. So yes, you've noticed my curly hair. I'm having to wear it curly. It's so long. I mean, it just, my weight line, you know, which is supposed to be here, is here. And someone's saying they still can't hear anything. And the chat moderation's been turned off, Declan. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. Yeah. So VS12 this morning. And now we've got people saying they can't see me anyway. Yep. Yeah, people are saying they can see and hear, and some are saying they're not. All good for you now. Yep. So I think it's all okay my end. And so if it's not right your end, anybody, you'll have to have a look. And maybe, yeah, you have to refresh the page. It's a shocking situation we have now with all of this, but don't worry about going out of the room and coming back. We have plenty of like room in the, so if you have any problems. I'm glad Olympia likes my curly hair. Hi, Olympia. So let's start this morning with understanding a little bit. We have got at the bottom, you've got two boxes. One where you can make your comments, as you all are right now, and that's fantastic. You can make a question in a blue box. Questions I will take at the end. Some people are saying no. I don't know. They're not there. No. I don't know what they're saying no about. Not there. Oh, no question box. Okay, thank you. So, Dec, we don't seem to have a question box. Ah, we've only got chat on, no questions. Can you just modify that for us, Dec? Gosh, I do promise you that we set all this up at 10:30 this morning. Maybe we were a little earlier. There we go. There's our question box. Okay. So we've got the text box. That's where you can make comments so that you are all interacting with each other. And then the blue question box, please use that if you want to ask a question, any question, and I'll take all the questions at the end. And take all the questions. Yes, if you do, at any point you do have any problems, technical problems, it is probably because of your internet. So we know that the internet is being really tested currently. Everybody's internet is being really tested. And so if you go out of the room and come back, so if you refresh, don't worry about doing that. We've got plenty of room in the room, so you won't be locked out. We did have that on one webinar, but we have since upgraded twice. So yes, thank you. I'm glad you like my curly hair. It's so long, my hair, that this morning I thought, what am I going to do? So I curled it with a VS12 and I'm loving it. And also today, my roots are covered up with a touch-up light. So that's where we are with the hair. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you like it, Elaine. Daniel said this morning, it's very 1940s. And I looked in the mirror and I thought, no, this is exactly how I was wearing my hair in the 1980s. Right, Elaine? You used to perm it for me. So good morning, Tina and Val. Hello, everybody. We seem to, Dec, we've lost our presentation. Can you have a look at that for me? That would be fantastic if you would do that. I'm also just making a little, The test question and answer mode has been disabled again. Deck, I believe. Are we all good? Right, good. I don't know why we're having so many problems today. Okay, so today we are going to talk about pricing. We're going to talk about prices, and we're going to talk about promotion criteria. We've got a big audience today, so welcome everybody. We've got a lot of PPP. We've got a lot of stylists with us today, and that's really good, and you'll see why. So I just want to explain what we're going to do today. We're actually going to do a little bit upside down. We're going to talk first of all about wages and their relation to prices and why that's important. And then we shall talk about, and then we'll talk about promotion, and then we're going to talk about pricing at the end. And the reason why we're going to do that is because with all the stylists in the room, they might not want they might get lost with some of the more complicated pricing stuff, right? So I've put that at the end, and then if it is losing their attention span, they can fall off at the end if that's what they want to do. So we're kind of doing a bit upside down, topsy-turvy, but that's okay, because we're not looking at businesses from the beginning. We're looking at them from a pause, as it were, and so that's okay. We've got April with us from California. Hi, April. Gosh, let me time for you is going to be grief. 3 o'clock in the morning. That's keen. We love that, April. Well, welcome. So, yes, today, pressing the wrong button again. Here we go. Don't worry, I'll get my mojo on. So we're doing pricing, prices, and promotion, but we're going to do it a little bit upside down. We're doing it because we've got stylists with us, and I'm so pleased that we have. I hope many of mine are on here, my stylists, because the more we understand about our pricing, the more we're able to really make sure that our strategy in the salon is in line with the thought process of the pricing, okay? And so yesterday I posted up, do you want to earn the best wages in town? One of the worst strategies that I've ever heard in my life, right, is people that want to earn the best wages and yet they've got the lowest prices, right? That's a terrible strategy. If you want to earn the best wages in town, you've got to charge the highest price in town. Or you've got to grow some new arms like an octopus, right? We've only got 2 hands. There's only so much hairdressing you can do at one point. And then yesterday I posted up, do you want to employ the best stylists in town? Now, if you're the best stylist in town, right, you're going to want to have the best wages. And so if you want to employ the best stylist in town, then you have to have the best prices in town. So we're understanding why pricing is such an important strategy, not just about making a profit at the bottom, although that, of course, is a very important part about pricing, but it's also part of a wider strategy, because the other thing, of course, about having the best prices means that we can have the best education, we can have the best reception service, we can have the best refreshment service, we can have the most beautiful salon, and we can keep reinvesting our money. It's very, very difficult to do that if you've not got enough money in the business, right? And then lastly, I put there this morning, do you want to work in the best salon in town? And salon owners, yes, it means, do you want to own the best salon in town, because you're still going to be working in it. So if we want to do all those things, then the pricing is very, very important. So we're going to start this morning looking at this simple sum. So wages is a really simple sum. Doesn't matter how you slice it and dice it. It's what you charge, what I charge, times by how many clients you do, and that gives you the take-ins, right? The salon owner doesn't pay the wages. The salon owner merely is the person that works out, if you like, here's the money that comes in, and then distributes the money to all the different places that it goes. Now I'm going to use the whiteboard to make an example here, because I love this whiteboard. So here we go, and I'm going to do it with, I'll do it with, I'm going to, no, that's the rubber eraser. I'm going to do it by drawing. Okay, so let's imagine what I charge. Let's imagine that I'm going to keep nice round numbers. It makes it easy for us to do the maths in our heads, right? I'm going to imagine that I charge 50. This is excluding VAT. Let's all understand that the VAT, we're only unpaid tax collectors for the government. So we take the VAT and we give it to the government. So everything we do is excluding VAT. So let's say I charge £50, excluding VAT, just doing round numbers. And in a week, I do 30 clients, okay? That means at the end of the week, the take-ins will be 1,500, okay? And that is the money that is then able to be distributed to wages and the overheads of the business, okay? If we charge £30 and we do 25 clients, the net result of that is, made it slightly complicated for myself there, £750. Okay, can we see that? Right, that little adjustment has meant that the take-ins are half. And so we have to understand that getting the pricing right, and of course getting the utilisation, the number of clients right, is very, very important. It's why I'm so pleased to have so many stylists on here today, because salon owners, we can have the best pricing strategy in the world. If our team don't understand the strategy, if the team start not charging for things, discounting their favourite client, if they, we've lost the presentation again, Deck. If they start discounting stuff, not charging for stuff, they've not got enough clients and they're not working hard enough to build more clients, then the net result of that has devastating effect on, is there something wrong with my...
No, are you doing something differently?
No, not at all. Daniel just come in and checked. I don't know what the technical problem is. I'm steaming ahead anyway, so if I should be stopping because we've got a problem. Okay, so we're understanding that. So now when we talk about the price, this is why we work often on an average income per client, right? Because it helps us to kind of balance it out, because if £50 is our cut and style price, you know, our blow dry price, for an example, may only be £35, right? So some people say, well, I do some clients at 50 and I do some at 35, but then if I'm doing a colour, that client is at £150, right? So that's why we do average incomes per client, just so that everybody is understanding that. So it's that money which then goes as a basis to help us to pay the wages and understand what it is that we earn. So it's a simple sum. So when people come to me and say, I want to earn more money, I say, that's fantastic. Because what we need to do is we need to increase the average income per client and or do more clients. That's it. It's very simple. It's not complicated. Okay, now how do we increase the average income per client? Kim's already told us there. So yeah, we do some upgrades. That's why upgrades are so important, right? Simple things can really make a big difference to your wages at the end of the week. So yep, some upgrades will help us increase the average income per client. What are some of the things that lower the average income per client? Yep, sell more services. This is up. Yep, so stretching, doing children, discounts, yeah, children's cuts, low ticket services, correct, standby, right? So some of these downselling, yeah, all of these things, yeah, dry cuts, if anybody does those, I recommend you don't. And so all of these things, yeah, doing it as a favour. Yeah, it's my favourite client. Oh, you know, someone told me the other week they've got a client, they haven't put a price up for 6 years. So let's now we're understanding that. The other thing, of course, is about the number of clients. So stop stretching the appointments. Nicole covered that so beautifully last week, that we shouldn't be stretching the number of clients. What are the other things that stop us? Well, no, let's be positive. So how do we increase the number of clients? How do we increase the number of clients? Yep, so we can use recommend a friend. Yes, we can get them to come more often, so we can rebook them rather than the client waiting until her hair's too long, ringing. By the time she gets an appointment, it means it's 8 or 10 weeks before she's come. If we rebook her every 6 weeks, that helps. So rebooking, yeah, timing, yeah, working extra hours, yeah. Get in touch with your community, booking cleverly by reception, yes. Do great hair, I love that one, because what happens when you do great hair? What happens when you do great hair? People talk about you, right? And still, word of mouth is the best advertisement that you can do. That personal recommendation, that word of mouth. So doing great hair is one, and then what's the other one? What's the other one? Doing great hair. Yeah, making sure that you give a great service. Making sure that you give a great service, right? It's as important as doing great hair. You see, look, when the client comes to you, she doesn't go, well, I'll go to that stylist and there's a 50-50 chance that I'll get great hair. No, she expects great hair. If she thought there was a 50-50 chance that she wouldn't get great hair, she wouldn't come. She'd go somewhere else, right? There's plenty of places for people to go in our marketplace, as it was before we all paused. So it's adding that great service as well, that excellent care. Yeah, the 8 essential steps to financial success. All of the whole thing is a package together. And that is why when I was thinking about doing pricing, I thought, and as I was writing this program today, I was like, we've got to have the stylists on this. They've got to understand the whole process. And can I just say, that's not what, I didn't touch the mouse then, and it came up. So that's why I'm so delighted that we're all on here together. It's such an important part of it. Now, the thing that's really important is that as we go back, we really need to make sure that we are absolutely on point with this. Making sure that we got great hairdressing and great service, making sure that client journey is elegant and enjoyable. Really very important. So let me ask this question. Which is the highest? 35% of £50 or 50% of £35? Which is the highest? Yeah, Andy was there first. It's the same. Correct. It's absolutely the same. Right? It's the same. So this is a really important principle. And the reason why it's an important principle is because generally speaking, most of the salons that are on this webinar are going to be paying commission at around around 33, 35%, depending on the level, etc., etc. You may get, as a stylist and salon owners, this is managers, those that coach our stylists. This is a really important point to make sure that people understand, because here's what happens. A salon owner needs a stylist, and he says, and he sees a stylist out somewhere or something that works for you, and he says, how much does Debbie pay you? Oh, well, she pays me 35%. I've used round numbers, right? She pays me 35%. Well, you come and work for me and I'll pay you 40. Stylist goes, oh, I'll get a little bit extra. And he does that because he's desperate, right? So the stylist goes there without thinking about 40% of what? Because if the prices are not as high, or if there's not as many clients, you might be getting a higher percentage, but you'll actually be earning less money. So it's very, very important for us to understand. Now, there is a reason why pay is at that kind of percentage. And it's because in order to cover the overheads, there needs to be enough money in the business to be able to do that. So that is why, it's not something, if that's how you're being paid, it's not something that your salon owner plucked out of the air. That's a really important principle to understand, that is the level of which wages should be. Because here's something I want everybody to understand, really important. Salon owners and stylists, this is a really important point. In fact, I'm going to give you the chance to give me the answer. If the stylist has, and I can see, Declan, that's come up, text question and answer mode has been disabled. I did not touch the mouse. If the, I did bang on the table, right? That's my, if I was walking around the room, like, it's really quite difficult for me, not being able to walk around the room, as you know, when we're all in the room together, right, and we're learning, I'll be walking around the room and my arms, it's quite difficult when I'm constrained in this chair. So, okay, so, because I'm going to ask a question now, I want to see some answers. If the commission for the stylist is 35%, what approximately is the cost to the business? Let's see who gets this answer. What's the cost to the business? Got some answers coming. 45, 50, 43, 52, 42, 60, 60, 50, 35. Okay. Okay. It would be, the cost to the business would be, I can see all your answers and I know why you're answering that. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. The cost to the business, Michelle got it. She said, is it 43? It would be between 43 and 45% for that stylist. Okay. Now I know why you're writing 50%, 65. You're thinking about the total cost of the wages for the whole salon. I'm talking here about the cost to the stylist, and I'm sorry if I didn't word the question well, but Michelle got it. Because you pay the 35%. You also have to pay the national insurance contribution, the employer's national insurance contribution, which is currently 12.9%. You also have to pay the pension contribution, which is currently 3%. And also what you should put into that calculation is the cost of the holiday, right? We've got no question mode today, so if you can ask a question in uppercase text to make it easier, that would be appreciated. I will tell everybody. So if you put your question mode in all in capitals and then put a question mark at the end, Declan will collect the questions as we go along. For some reason, our question mode is not working very well today. Okay, so thank you for that, Declan. So we're understanding. Let's make sure we're understanding. If we pay a stylist 35%, once we add to that 35% wage, the cost of the employer's NI, the 3% pension, and the cost of holiday, 28 days paid holiday throughout the year, once you add that on, the cost of that will be exasperated between 8 and 10%. So the real cost of that would be 43 to 45%. Okay, so I'm glad we're all understanding that. That's what makes pricing so important, right? Because we can't deviate away from the percentages. If you do, you end up with not enough money in the pot to pay all the other costs of the business. So it's a great principle for us to understand. So now, how do we make sure that clients get value? You see, I would have thought most of the salon owners on here, because I've had conversations with many of you, right? We've been having some Zoom calls and one-to-one Zoom calls, and many of you have messaged and emailed and texted, and we've had backwards and forwards. Many of you are raising your prices, and rightly so at this time. Very, very important, in my opinion, that we raise our prices, okay? So if we're going to raise our prices, we want to make sure that our clients get good value. Now, value is another simple sum. When we talk about value, and it's the same for any goods, not just hairdressing, value is the sum of what you buy divided by what it costs. Okay, and that's how you perceive the value. So if I'm going to buy something, let's say I'm going to buy this phone, right? This phone, I say, right, what am I buying and how much is it costing me, right? Now, I don't know, how much do these phones cost? Some of you can probably tell by the fact it's got 3 cameras on. I've no idea what model this is, right? You're probably going to tell me. But these phones cost £1,200? Never. Do they? All right. Let's say, good God. Okay, so £1,000. Okay, I have no idea. So let's say that this phone, let's say that your phone, let's call it £1,000, right? It cost £1,000, a lot of money, just took my breath away. What am I buying? So what's in here? What's in this phone? What's in this phone? What am I buying? It is a brain. You're right. It's a brain. It's access to the world, right? It's a camera. It's a phone. It allows me to communicate, right? It's my lifeline. It is indeed. There's such a thing as nomophobia, where where we when it's, you know, you can tell someone who's got nomophobia when their battery's about to run out. They're running around saying, "Who's got a charger? Who's got a charger? My battery's about to run out," right? So it's a diary, it's a camera, it's a world access, it's a dictionary, it's the Britannica, the Encyclopedia Britannica, it's the news, it's the television, it's the radio, it's everything. It's everything, right? So now when I look at it like that, I go, well, it's worth £1,000, okay? It's worth £1,000, right? So can we see what I buy versus what it costs? Now, it probably, to make this phone, probably doesn't cost any much more than the kind of phones they were making 20 years ago, right? So 20 years ago, very popular phones at that time were Nokias. It probably doesn't cost any more to physically manufacture this than it did those phones then. But it's not the phone, the physical phone that I'm paying for. What I'm paying for is all the things that it brings to me, all the benefits it brings to me. Okay? So we have to think about that now in terms of hairdressing. So what is it that people really buy? What can you tell me? When we purchase something, what are we really buying? Anything, right? This is a principle. So yes, Matt, we're buying, yeah, Jill, we're buying good feelings, right? The experience, the good feelings, okay? And what else? Yeah, and Sarah, I can see it there, and a solution, right? So what we're buying are solutions to problems and good feelings. And apply it to anything. Apply it to anything. So let's say we're going to buy let's think about this. We're going to go to a very nice restaurant, okay? My mind was stuck on a holiday for a minute there. It's not a good example right now. So let's say we're going to go to a restaurant, and it's a fairly expensive restaurant. What is the solution to the problem? What's the solution to the problem? Or what is the problem? I'm hungry. I need food. I've got to eat, right? Now, if that was the only thing I was buying for, I could go to McDonald's and buy a burger for 99p, right? So, but I don't. I want to go to a restaurant and I want to spend £50 per head. Why would I do that? I could solve the problem with 99p burger, but instead I'm going to go to a restaurant. It's going to be £50 a head because I want to have a lovely time. I want to have good service. I want to have a great experience. It could be a special occasion. It's a pick-me-up. It's going to make me feel good. I want good quality. So can we see how the two things? Now, let me just tell you that the solutions to the problem get you the customer, but it's the good feelings that get you the price higher, okay? Now, I want us to think about this. You're going to feel all fancy. I am indeed. And I cannot wait for the opportunity to feel all fancy, as I'm sure many of you can't. So, now, that's what I buy. How does the client pay? How does the client pay? Let's get your answers. Yeah, they pay in their emotions, in how they feel. So they pay in emotions, yes. They pay in emotions. How else do they pay? Yes, they pay recommendation. They pay referring, so that's their loyalty. Yes, they pay with money. Right, recommendation, money. Yeah, how they're treated. That's their emotion. Reviews is their loyalty with their hard-earned cash. Yes, there's one more thing. Let's see if we get it. They invest in your business. Yes, they are, with their return. Yeah, well done, Joe. I think that was the first one that said it. They pay with time. So there are 4 ways that people pay. Okay, we pay with money primarily, of course, but we also pay with a time investment. We pay with our loyalty. In other words, what we're prepared to give. These are things that we're prepared to give in return for what we want, right? And we pay with our emotional effort. So let me give some examples on that. I mean, money's the obvious one, right? Money is the currency, with which the whole world evolves, okay? But we pay with our time. So it could be that, let's think about a good example of one with time. You might pay more, for an example. I'm going to use nails as an example. You might pay more to go to somebody who can give you your service faster if time is precious to you than you would, because you might say, oh, they take too long. So whilst she charges £5 more, I'm going to go there because it's faster and it's better, right? So Loyalty, of course, is things like we make referrals, we make recommendations, we put a review. And let me just tell you something. When we go back, the review is going to be so, so important. Okay, so let's make sure we ask for these reviews. And the last one, of course, the emotional effort. So if it makes me feel good, it's fantastic. If it makes me feel bad, right, then you know, that effort won't, you know, I won't want to do it. So that they're important principles to remember when we're thinking about high prices. We've got to get those things right. If all we're focusing on is that, you know, well, I do great hairdressing. Well, that's all very good and well, right? But that's not enough. We have to make sure we get all the other stuff right as well. Okay. And one of the things that I think is really important, I'm really passionate about this. When I hear hairstylists talking about themselves, it drives me nuts. Because if you think that that is giving the client good feelings, you are wrong. She is sitting in the chair being polite. And she's being polite because she's afraid that if she's not polite, you'll mess her hair up. And that's a great truth. So, you know, if there's one thing, I mean, this you know, what we're going through at the moment, this is a defining moment in time for our industry. And I'm going to talk about this today. I have had such an epiphany in the last 2 days, focusing on some of the stuff that's going on right now and this presentation, right? I've had such an epiphany. I'm going to share it with you today. I'm really excited about it. I woke up this morning, I discussed it with Daniel and then with Declan. I was like, I'm so excited. So what we are going through right now is a defining moment in our industry, okay? And how we choose to come out of this defining moment could change our career and our business forever. Think about that. And I'm most excited for hairstylists, because every successful person has a defining moment, right? A defining moment or a defining event in their life that changes the trajectory, okay? This was my epiphany this morning. I've gone off on a tangent for a minute, all right? So forgive me. I have a habit of doing that. But when I came across this morning, I was so excited. I come out of the shower. I said, Daniel, come here. So I was thinking about this being a defining moment in time that we're going through now. And it can define our business and it can define our career. And then I started thinking about other defining events and defining moments. I'll give you an example. And I think that thinking about the two things at once, because in pricing, I'm always reminded of Vidal Sassoon, right? Now, Vidal Sassoon was a defining moment in our industry. Vidal Sassoon invented the blow dry. Before Vidal Sassoon started precision cutting and drying with a hand dryer, everybody had their hair set, all women, not men, all women had their hair set, right? And dressed out, and that was hairdressing as we knew it back then. And Vidal Sassoon came along, and he did precision haircut, and he blow dried it, and he changed our industry. Now, what happened? I first started hairdressing at this defining time. So women used to get their hair set every week or once every 2 weeks. So go to the hairdressers, get their hair washed and set. Some ladies used to come in between time, some of them would come for a dress out, right? So they literally would put a load of lacquer on it and they would sleep with a hairnet, and then like 3 or 4 days in, they'd come in just for a dress out, and the hairdresser would give it a good brush and a good back comb and put it all back in shape and spray it, and off they'd go again, right? And that's that was how it went, right? And now all of a sudden women were transforming from that kind of look to these really nice precision haircuts and the blow dry, etc. And ladies back then, because they were in the habit of going to the hairdressers every week, lots of ladies still came for a weekly blow dry. In fact, most stylists Well, how we used to gauge a successful stylist back there was how many regulars they had on a Friday and a Saturday for blow dries, right? So, and if a stylist, if her day was like all packed out with blow dries on a Friday and a Saturday, you go, wow, she's really popular, you know, she's really... Now, here was the thing. The shampoo and set was a 15-minute appointment, right? And actually, in the first salon I ever worked in, how they used to book was they used to book a client 15 minutes. It'd be Mrs. Brown, Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Gray, right? And then there'd be a 15-minute gap. So they'd have 3 clients in an hour. Some stylists used to do more. And what they'd do is they'd put the rollers in, Mrs. Smith, she goes under the dryer. Put the rollers in, Mrs. Brown, she goes under the dryer. Put the rollers in, Mrs. Gray, she goes under the dryer. And by the time she goes under the dryer, the next one's ready to come out, right? And so then they take that one out and comb her out. And then comb her out. Next one, comb her out, right? And that was a price, right? Fearsome, me too. I remember when it was fully booked. And I wonder, Anne, if you can try and remember, if you can, for me, like way back then, what you were charging. I think I remember what, I was only an apprentice in those days, so I can't really remember. And maybe you were too. Maybe you're going to give me a good bash over the head next time you see me for being so impertinent to suggest that you might remember more than I do. But that's how it was. Now, when we changed over to cut and blow dries, as it were, so went from a cut and shampoo and set to a cut and blow dry, what do you think we did with the pricing? 12 and 6. Well done, Sharon. 12 and 6, she remembers. What do you think we did with the pricing? The industry. You think it went up, did you? You think we put the prices up? Okay, some people who were around at that time, tell them what we did. The price went up. I'm so glad we're having this conversation. It stayed the same. The price stayed the same. We weren't clever enough as an industry to understand the principle of the time. It stayed the same. We were all so excited to do the new cutting and blow drying. We say, Mrs. Brown, you know, don't let me keep setting your hair like this. Let me cut it and blow dry it so you can look like this. Right? So most things are my fault, Matt. So as an industry, we never made good adjustments at that time, right? To the pricing. And so that's a very, very interesting piece of history. So a defining moment in our industry, right? So much good that come out of it. But because we lacked business skills, right, we didn't address it. Now I saw... so someone said, Darren said, I can't remember the price, but I do remember charging for setting lotion and hairspray and conditioner. We used to, I remember I was an apprentice at the time. We used to say to clients, do you want conditioner? We used to get a bonus for selling conditioners back then. Andy, your defining moment was meeting me. Bless you. I'm going to tell you something else in a second. So that was a defining moment in time for our industry. And I was thinking about that when I was thinking about pricing, right? Because it's very important for us to understand that and how we sort of fix that. And we've spent years and years, and 54 years ago, £12 a week she was earning. So, conditioner 50p, setting lotion £1, right? So you say to the client, do you want conditioner? We charge for that. Do you want setting lotion? We charge for that. I can remember clients saying, I'll have setting lotion, but only put half on. Used to be little tiny bottles, right? Only put half on, and I'll save the other half for next week. So they could get the price of the setting lotion down. So interesting times. They certainly were. How our industry has changed. So a defining moment. Anyway, so I was thinking about that. I was thinking about the opportunity that this moment in time gives us, right? And something else I want to tell you that's been on my mind. I did a few weeks ago, you will remember, I did Let's Talk Dialogue, right? And we talked about our dialogue for when we go back. And I did that at the time because at the time we believed that we would be going back probably around now, right? And now we discover we've got another 2 months before we can go back, right? Not quite 2 months, nearly, before we can go back. So I was a bit premature with that, and I didn't know that I was, and I'm probably going to do that again, right? I'm going to do that one again because it's really important to get everybody primed for when we go back. And we've promised you that we will do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3 webinars a week. And I kept saying to Daniel, like, we've got all these ideas of webinars that we can do to help you to go back, but we're too far away. Now, something else that's been on my mind, and I don't know about you, but I'm absolutely fed up with people surmising about PPE. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Just like we had no idea that he was going to say we go back July the 4th. Nobody knows. I'm fed up with hearing it. It's driving me bananas. So I thought, what are we going to talk about? Anyway, so now something else that happened. Monday, Neil did his webinar, and when he was dressing out the hair, I was mesmerised. And I'm not a creative hairdresser, okay, but I loved it. And I thought, gosh, my eyes have missed, like, just seeing that creativity. And so I thought, I want to. I was speaking to Daniel the last couple of days, and I was like, Daniel, I want to bring back inspiration and creativity to people. I don't want to sit there and hear any more about, you know, what we'll be wearing and what we won't be wearing, and will we be doing this and that and the other. Nobody knows what we're going to be doing until the government tell us. So all of these thoughts going through my head, and I came up with this eureka. So this is what we're going to do over the next couple of weeks. I hope you like it, right? We're going to do the Defining Moment series, and I'm going to have some guests. So I'm going to host it. We're going to do the first one on Friday, and I'm going to ask some guests to come, and I will interview them, and we're going to ask them about their defining moments in their career, in their salon, in their business, right? Do you like it? You like it? Something inspiring. Let's listen to some people and learn some success leaves clues. I was so excited this morning. I was bouncing around that bedroom. I was like, this is what we're going to do the next couple of weeks. We're going to stop listening to all this stuff, and it's no good us doing we're too far away from going back. So let's really get inspired about our industry. So you tell me, you know, what kind of, you know, who it would be that you would want to, and don't go too far out that I can't get them here as guests, right? But who do you think you'd really like to hear from, or what kind of story do you want to hear, right? And I will make sure that we get those people. So let's see. You just registered for Friday. That's fantastic. Right. Okay, Brittany, fantastic. So Brittany is on next Wednesday. I want you to know. Next Wednesday at 3:30. Because of the time difference, we've changed our time to 3:30. Okay, I've asked you to put on there people that I'm likely to be able to get on here. Jude's colour journey. Yep, Jude would be an absolutely fantastic. April, I would wake up, bless you. Okay, Neil and his defining moments. Gianni, yeah, Barry, interested in Barry. Jude and how she won her first competition. Yes, I've got in mind, you know, myself a few people. Patrick Cameron would want too much money, and as I'm doing this for free. Beth, Daniel had said about Beth. Susan, yes, she could be another one that I could get on. Tiffany, yeah, that would be another great story. There's one that I want to put forward. Sally Brooks, I might be able to get Sally, yes. I might be able to get Sally. Not another salon. Sophia will want too much money too, unless you all want to pay. Unless you want to have a whip round and pay. But, you know, I will sit here and put my hands up and tell you I'm getting poorer by the day. So, and you know, I've said it so many times, I shouldn't keep saying it, but whether you're one salon or a salon group, on the bounce back loans, you still only get the same 50,000. So some of you got 50,000 for your salon, and I got 50,000 for 9 companies. Okay, so anyway, so yeah, we're looking for people that will do it for free, Matt. That's exactly what we're looking for, because that inspires me. People who will do it because they're doing it from the heart, not from the wallet. You love any of the successes? Who was my idea? Mine's a stylist. I need to speak to the stylist first to see if it's something that she wants to do. But where are we? Get them to donate their charges to the NHS. The other thing is I've got a lot of work on at the moment too, so I'm not going to spend too much time chasing after people. Anyway, so the Defining Moments series, I'm going to get on here, and we can, and then you can ask some questions, and you can ask them some questions, and we can find out what were their defining moments in their life, in their business, in their career, so that we can be inspired to make the most of the defining moments that are left to us. Okay, let's get back to our boring old pricing, shall we? So where were we? Here is where we were. I'm glad you like that idea. So where am I? Where are we? Okay. So let's think about how we compete for a second. So we've talked about wages. We've talked about value. Now let's talk about how we compete, because it's very important that we understand that our clients have a choice, right? There are plenty of hairdressers out there. So our clients have a choice. How do we compete? So can you all see and hear me still? That's all right. My granddaughter is trying to FaceTime me. Okay. And so you went off the screen. Could you still see my face going? Yeah. Okay. Love her. So, okay. So how do we compete? Clients have a choice. How do we compete? So this is some research that was done by Professor Michael Porter for the Harvard University. And he said there are really 3 ways that we can compete, and they can cross over slightly. And if we understand what those 3 ways are, then we're able to really maximize that opportunity for ourselves. So the first way that we compete is by cost, right? By the price that we charge. Now, the problem with that is that if we compete only by price, right? What does that mean we have to do with our prices? Yeah, we have to be lower than others. If that's how we compete, we have to be lower. So we always have to be the cheapest, right? We have to be really competitive. So a really good example of cost or price, let's see if anybody can come up with what's a really good example of competing on cost or price. Let's see what examples you have. Something that competes on cost or price, not in here. So Tesco's, yeah. Try and be a little bit more specific for me. Yeah, Lidl, yes, all of those. Baked beans, milk offers quality. Okay, let's do baked beans have come twice. Okay, so let's do phones. Okay, so let's do petrol. Okay, someone said petrol. Let's do beans, right? Do baked beans. Okay, so let's think of the different brands. In fact, I'm going to tell you something so funny in a second. The different brands, what are they called? I've got them in the cupboard. Just wait 1 second. I'm going to get them out of the cupboard because I can't remember what the other brand is called. Okay, I've just been in the larder. Oh, Branston, well done. Branston baked beans. That was the one I couldn't remember. Here's the market leader, Heinz baked beans. Okay. Now, we actually don't eat very many baked beans in our house. That's why we have little tins. My mum likes baked beans, right? So we have little tins. At the beginning of lockdown, I went shopping with Declan. I don't know what came over me. I bought a whole case of these. I don't even know why. We don't even eat them. We don't even like them. That's how many beans we eat. These ones that were there before we even started this lockdown are still there. So you see these, honestly, how many tins are in a case? Declan, just remind everybody. I'm going to go and take them to the food bank. I don't know what came over me. I think it was because there was no toilet rolls there. So I bought a case of baked beans. Anyway, so we've got these. And also a lot of stores will have their own brands, right? Tesco's will have their own baked beans, okay? So tin tomatoes. We eat a lot of tin tomatoes. Anyway, so when Branston put their price down, what do Heinz have to do? What do Heinz have to do? They have to respond by they have to match it, or they have to be lower, or they have to say buy 4 for the price of 3, right? And but they have to give you some kind of value in your mind to choose them over them, right? Because they're not the market leader, Branston, so they come in cheaper, but then you start going, oh, hang on a minute, it's quite a lot cheaper, and we eat a lot of baked beans in our house, right? And so we start thinking about it. Now, what that is doing, that's trying to make the products, because they're fairly close, me too. Now, I want to make, someone had said about petrol, and I'm going to make petrol an example, because the thing about petrol, does anyone here believe that there is a difference in the petrol that you buy from Tesco's to the petrol you buy in BP or Esso? Is there any difference? What do you think? Oh, some people are saying yes, yes, yes. Fundamentally, petrol is petrol, right? Most people, and you might choose to buy your petrol in one place or another, but most people wait until they haven't got very much petrol left in the car, and then they pull into the nearest petrol garage. That's what most people do. So for the most part, we believe that petrol is more or less the same. Now, when Tesco's put the cost of petrol down, what do BP and Esso do? Right? They put the cost of petrol down too, right? So the reason why we're talking about this is to try and understand, if we try and compete on cost or price, then what is going to be happening is we're always going to be focusing on that and not focusing on other ways that we can bring value to the client. And we just proved earlier all the different ways that people value things that they spend money on. Okay, so another way that we compete, and another way that we can have a competitive edge, is we can be niche or specialist. Okay, and there is I speak quite a lot at the moment about how when I was a young stylist, we didn't have so many services. I give the example of, for fear of telling the same story over and over again, but I was a young stylist in the time when Diana Spencer got engaged to Prince Charles, and all we did for like 6 months was layered haircuts and highlights. I mean, you just had to be good at a layered haircut and highlights. The same happened when we had Rachel from Friends. Some of you will remember maybe the Purdy cut. Joanna, was that Joanna Lumley? Gosh, she's been around forever, right? Posh Spice, yeah, when she had that fringy bit over the front, right? So it was simple then, right? That's all. But today it's far more diverse. And so it is good for stylists to choose some specializations, not too narrow, but to choose some specializations. So, yeah, the curly perm, John. So I can remember doing 9 perms in a day. Didn't have to wear gloves when you coloured hair because you knew you were going to do a perm on the next client, and whatever colour you got on your hands and nails would come off on when you did the perm. So being niche or specialist or narrow is all very well if you don't need to, if you have the opportunity to find lots and lots of, or find enough people to do what you're to supply to you, whatever your niche is. So let's talk for an example. Let's say, for an example, if it was a hair extensionist, right? It's great being a hair extensionist. We all know that there's good money in it, but you've got to find enough people that want hair extensions, right? And some people do, and that's fantastic. That's fantastic for them, right? But you have to be able to really tap into that market, right? So the third way is being different and better, right? And this is the way that allows you to have a wider market than being niche or narrow or specialist, while simultaneously not having to compete on cost or price, right? And this is, with most hairdressing salons, when you've got multiple stylists and you're trying to grow your business, this would be my recommendation, where we focus on being different and better. So we do things differently and we do things better than everybody else, right? And this comes back to, so this will enable us to have a better price. We'll be able to charge a better price, but in able to do this, we need to charge a better price, because these things normally cost money. As I said earlier, when we've got enough money in the business, we can afford the right training. We can afford, reception services, better refreshments, nicer surroundings, right? And so we focus on being different and better. If you're the same as everybody else, right, you can only charge the same price as everybody else. Okay? So that's what we have to think about. Now, I thought about this morning. I added this in this morning. I woke up and I was thinking about what's a great example of how hairdressers should really know. One of the great things that's coming out of this is we are really being almost revered, right? We're like, clients are, oh, I can't wait for you to come back. I mean, we're on every TV program, we're on every radio station, everyone's talking about hair, etc., etc. So I want to talk a minute about Gianni Schiumacci, and I know many of you here have met Gianni, done Gianni's programs. Gianni's amazing. And one of the things that really drew me to Gianni, is a fantastic hairdresser, but that isn't what drew me to Gianni. What drew me to Gianni was the fact that he believes in a hairdresser's worth, right? And when the first time I had dinner with Gianni, and we sat there and he started talking, first of all, we were talking about hair and all of that, and that's all great and whatever. But then Gianni started talking to me about the worth of a hairdresser, right? And then he really got my attention, because there isn't enough opportunity out there for hairdressers to really understand, to make that transition, right? And so I remembered this article that Gianni had written here, so I'm going to share it with you now, about the worth of a hairdresser. Because this, hairdressers and salon owners, this is the key, right? This is how we get hairdressers to be able to charge more money. Yes, it's the skill. Yes, it's the service. It's what goes around it. It's the 8 essential steps to financial success. It's all of those things, but the person's self-esteem, right, is a massive part of it. And I saw someone earlier put something about their face. I can't remember who put that now. It might have been Marcus, right? Their face, right? Because, but it's their persona. It's the way they hold and project themselves. It's the things they say. It's the confidence they have about what they do, right? Not hubris, right? But genuine confidence about what they do. So let's read what Gianni says. He said, from cutting hair age 10 in his family's barbershop in Lincoln to working on global fashion campaigns and travelling the world with esteemed fashion photographers, it's fair to say Gianni Scumati has achieved phenomenal success so far. His career trajectory, which has often taken him outside the traditional hairdressing sphere, has given him a new perspective and clarity about the industry he loves. Here, he explains why he feels compelled to awaken the self-worth of hairdressers. Why is the hidden intelligence of a hairdresser a topic that you feel compelled to discuss? I've done a series of talks around this topic because I believe recognising the intelligence of hairdressers is key to moving the industry forward. I use the word hidden because I think it's often concealed, not just from society, but from the hairdressers themselves. I believe it takes a highly intelligent individual to run a salon and give back people's self-esteem on a daily basis. To create hair for the runway or to read between the lines of an advertising brief, as well as putting your own stamp on it, takes a high level of emotional, aesthetic and creative intelligence. It's time to change how we view ourselves as hairdressers because it affects how society sees us. Right now, society is seeing us a little bit differently right now. And if we just go back to how we were, we'll spoil it for ourselves. This is part of where I was getting this defining moment from. Like this defining moment, we can't, in the words of Don Bewley, right? We can't fuck it up. We got to get it right. I'm so passionate about it. Honestly, I was bouncing around the bedroom this morning. I was like, all I need is a handful of hairdressers, and we're going to bloody change this industry, right? For not for everybody, because not everybody will. Some people will just go back to normal, right? So I'm glad. Oh, now what have I done? I'm glad. Gosh, I've really. There we go. Right. So excuse me 1 second. I messed my computer up completely. I think it might be. Declan said it's my computer, and I think he could be right. Oh dear. Just give me 1 second. Here we go. Right. By the way, I am going to ask Gianni to come and do a Defining Moments series. So why do you describe yourself as an outsider in the industry? And when I put this up, I deliberately put this picture of a horse. Can you see? Gianni decided a really cool thing to do in 2004 was to do these, carving on a horse. And it took him days. Anyway, it got him into Vogue magazine. So he had this idea, he executed it, and he got into Vogue, and it was really one of the things that propelled his career. In the past, I would go to hairdressing events and feel like an outsider, and I didn't understand why. I'm a third generation hairdresser, and I love the people in our industry. I realised it wasn't that our intelligence wasn't being recognised by society. It was that our intelligence wasn't being recognised by hairdressers themselves. I started to gravitate towards the fashion world and working on campaigns for magazines. I felt like the people in the fashion world respected their craft in a different way. Why do some hairdressers have low self-esteem? In my experience, a lot of hairdressers saw themselves as not being good enough at school. The education system has a hierarchy of subjects with math and science at the top, followed by languages and humanities, whilst the arts sit at the bottom. A lot of hairdressers learn in a visual way, but schools teach in a linear way. If you're a visual person, you aren't going to retain that information and do well in an exam. When I came out of school, there were two options if you didn't succeed academically. You became a hairdresser, beauty therapist, or a bricklayer. These jobs had a stigma attached to them, and I don't think that's changed as much as it should have. How do we change this perception? It needs to start with hairdressers themselves. I want us as hairdressers and barbers to take a step back and reframe who we are. When I have, by the way, we've been forced to step back. When I have direct contact with hairdressers at lectures, seminars, or my educational sessions, it changes their perceptions of themselves. I believe salon owners have a big responsibility. Those close to retiring need to engage. Those close to retiring need to engage those that are starting out. How can we expect a person coming into the industry to have high self-esteem if the people at the top don't? I want to work with different platforms and partners to spread that message. Hairdressing is a £7 billion industry in the UK, but we don't value ourselves as such. What about those starting out in the hairdressing industry? We need to understand where the problem begins. Children aged 13 choose their options at school and they are told by teachers and parents that hairdressing isn't a serious career choice. It's my job to change this perception. I visited a school recently to talk about hairdressing careers, and they were all focused on the immediate benefits, such as how much money will I earn and how glamorous it looked on social media. I asked the students what they would like to give back in 5 years' time. I explained the social function of hairdressers, how we improve our clients' self-esteem and make them feel like the best versions of themselves. They didn't realise that's what hairdressers do. And I think a lot of hairdressers in our industry today they kind of know this inside, that this is what they want to do, but they don't know that this is, they don't know how to make this transition, right? So they didn't realise what a hairdresser. We need to make sure that those starting out understand that our industry changes people's lives, and we have an opportunity right now to help hairdressers transition, right, before they go back, to understand that what we do is improve clients' self-esteem and make them the best version of themselves, right? So, by the way, that's Gianni with David Bailey. He's David Bailey's favourite stylist. Have you always had a high sense of self-worth? I wasn't academically successful at school, but I could cut hair by the time I was 10, and I had an interest in music and photography. I found that having these abilities helped me to understand my own value. Academic achievement is often the only intelligence that's recognised in society. I think this is why hairdressers are so keen on competitions and winning awards. They strive for the recognition they didn't get at school. What do you hope to achieve with this movement? I was told a story about a dinner party where a doctor, lawyer, architect and a hairdresser were seated together. When the hairdresser revealed their job, no one knew what to say. I genuinely believe the social function of a hairdresser is on par with what society would label a professional job or career. My goal is for the next generation of hairdressers to be able to present themselves at a dinner party without there being any silence. I'm not professing to make hairdressing more than it is, but it is important to reframe the position we have in society. Yay! Go Gianni! Right? So I feel strongly about teaching people how to evaluate their technical and communication skills. The industry tends to invest in technical education and expects hairdressers to learn communication skills through experience. For me, cutting the hair is only a small part of the pie. Looking at the graph, I aim to get my students to a sweet spot where they excel on both sides. There are 3 elements to my education programs: discover, create and evolve. Discovery is about finding out how a client sees herself. Create is about creating a character for your client, and evolve is the ability to change them into a different version of themselves over time. So there we have Gianni. Right, this is where I've got my defining moment slide. I brought it forward earlier. Right, so this is our opportunity. I don't know how we got from pricing to here, right? But this is I do know. This is an important part of pricing. Salon owners, if all of your stylists turned up like this, right? How would this be in the salon? How easy would it be to get clients? Let's get some, right? How easy would it be to get clients if all the stylists turned up like this? Right? It'd be really easy. It'd be very easy. It'd be amazing. Right? The emotional ties is what keeps the guest coming back. It is indeed. When people say about my hairdresser, it's not because that hairdresser cuts hair, does anything any different to anybody else. The client doesn't know the difference between a good and a bad haircut, right? Clients would be fighting to get through the door. It'd be so easy. They miss us and the hair. So this is a fantastic opportunity for us. I'm glad you know, they all want the first appointment. They do indeed. So, you know, I'm glad we've got people thinking about this. Okay, so let's get back to pricing and let's understand. So this is not to do with hairdressing. This is business principle. Okay, this is marketing principle, the price pyramid. So what this pyramid shows us is that any pricing, whatever you do, we're going to use cars today, works on a basis of this pyramid, right? So at the bottom of the pyramid, we have economy. So down at economy, we can see that this is a wide part of the pyramid because most people can afford it. Unless people are very, very poor, most people can afford it. Then as we go up, the pyramid gets narrower and narrower till we get to the top, and at the top it says ultimate, and only a few people can afford it. Okay, and as that pyramid goes up, things go from being cheaper to being way more expensive and the ultimate price. Okay, we're going to use today cars. Okay, we're going to use cars today. So tell me some cars which would be in that economy part of the pyramid down the bottom. I'm not very good at cars, so you're going to have to do the work here. Right, a Skoda, yeah, a Ford Ka, a Corsa, a Fiesta, a Fiat 500, a Rover sedan. That's interesting. Rovers used to be up in luxury. A Fiat 500, an electric car. Well, no, electric car could be at the top, could be the ultimate car, right? But economy and micra, yeah, so economy cars, we're understanding. Then the little cars, right, the little tiny cars, you know, I don't know, a new one costs, what does a new one cost, right? What does a new economy car cost these days? New economy car. Yep, £6,000, a new one, £5,000. Yep. So let's say between 5 and 10, 11, £12,000. Okay, so now let's talk about some popular cars, right? Let's talk about some popular cars. What do you think they would be on this second part? Right, Marcus don't want to say anything because don't want to upset anyone. I know. That's why I've put the focus on other people. Yeah, so a few cars coming up here. BMW, well, interesting about BMW, and this is where we have to get more specific about models, because BMW probably make a popular model and they make a luxury and they make an ultimate, right? So same with Mercedes. Now they used to be in the luxury market, but what they've done, of course, is they've reached out because they wanted more of the market, and for BMW it's the 1 Series, for Mercedes Mercedes, someone tell me what the Mercedes A-Class, thank you, right? So we can see how those companies that were traditionally more luxury came into that marketplace, right? I know there's nothing wrong with the 1 Series. I had 3 1 Series in a row. I loved them, right? And when I moved from 1 Series to actually because I had a car accident, right? And I moved to a bigger car, and I actually didn't like the bigger car. I preferred the 1 Series, so I went back to a smaller car, but not to a 1 Series, back to what do I have now? X2, right? I have an X2 now. Anyway, let's not talk about my BMW experience, because what would be an ultimate BMW? What was that old banger you had once? David says, I don't know. I've had a few old bangers. What old banger did he have? That's what I want to know. You can tell him I know where the bodies are buried. So a 7 Series, yes. I don't have an i8, an M5. I don't know how much i8. I don't know how much is that car. I'm not into cars. I just don't even know. So you'd have to tell me. 85,000, right? What's the real ultimate car? Someone tell me, a car person, what's a real, an i8 125? Someone said there. I guess it depends what you have. A Lambo, a Bugatti, G-Wagon, I don't even know what that is. Bugatti, Audi, Lamborghini, Lotus, Bentley. How much are those cars? Someone tell me. Mustang, Rolls Royce. Someone tell me how much those cars are. $1 million? You can buy a car for $1 million? Can you really buy a car for $1 million? 250,000. Aston Martin. Aston Martin's round the corner in Newport Pagnell. Drive past it all the time. They've got a ton on the forecourt at the moment. Drove past there. Right. So we're understanding the price pyramid, yes? Give me a Y or a yes if you're understanding how this works. Yes. Yes, we're understanding. Good. Good. Here's my question. Your haircut. Where do you want it to be on the price pyramid? Where do you want it to be? You want to be on the top. Luxury. Yeah, ultimate. Luxury. Good. So, I don't know, my phone is... I don't normally leave it in here. Daniel will come in here in a minute and take it away. It's been bing, bing, binging, and now it's ringing. It's like that all day, every day. So I don't know whoever that is that's ringing is not on this webinar. So put it in a bucket of water. I'd like to. Okay, so what we have to understand is as the pyramid goes up, there's less and less. If we went out onto the M1, we'd see probably a lot of popular cars out on the M1, right? Economy cars people tend to have like to run around locally, don't they? But ultimate cars, we're not going to see so many of them on the road, right? So that's where we go back to where we were saying clients, you know, what's our choice? We can be low price, right? That's where the economy would be, low cost, low price. Or we could be niche. Niche would be up in that ultimate, okay? You don't see many Bentleys around, right? But we see way more popular cars and we see way more luxury cars. So for those people who are saying they want to be around luxury, right, then that's a good place to be. So once we understand the price pyramid, it helps us with our pricing to understand. And some stylists, I hope you're looking and thinking, gosh, the price I charge right now, I'm there, and really I want my price to be somewhere else, because that's what we're going to talk about now, how we get those prices. Now, we're going to talk about here the 5. This is if we've got 5 level pricing, right? If you're in a salon and you've got 5 levels of pricing. Now, if you've not got that, don't worry about it. Ask some questions, right? Because I want people to be able to understand how tiered pricing works and why it's so important in our industry. You might not have 5 stylists in your salon. You might say, I've only got 3 stylists. You should still have tiered pricing. And we're going to discover why that is. Now, what I want us to think about in our area, go straight to the middle here of this pricing. In our area, what is the most usual price that is charged? The popular price, right? The popular price. What is the popular price in your area? Okay, so around 36 to 40, around 40, 40, 33. It's going to be different in different areas. 40, 40, 30, 30 to 40, 55, 30, 35. Good. People are knowing in my area, this is the most usual price. That should be the price that's in the middle of your prices, the most usual price. Okay. Now, about 15% lower than that price, you should have a price which allows a really good stylist to have rapid growth. And then about 10% down from there, an entry-level price. Okay? Now, this is because if we want to, let's say we've got a stylist, we've got an apprentice and she's just finished. She's a fantastic little stylist. Why wouldn't she be? She's been trained by not directly by me, but by Feathers, right? Great little stylist, lovely hairdressing skills, very keen. She's really working on her 8 essential steps. Got a great attitude. We bring her in at entry-level price. Now, if we bring her in at £40, if the most usual price in our town is £40 and we bring her in at £40, what's the problem? What's the problem? She's got no experience, right? Clients will go, well, she's 40 and she's 40. I'll have her, right? So we've got to bring her in at a lower price in order to be able to get some clients, right? So if the usual price is 40, right, it could be that the rapid growth price is 35 and the entry level price is 30. So the client goes, oh, £30. Well, I'll give her a go. Especially if the receptionist or the person on the telephone says, do you know what? She is a young stylist, but she's really good. She's so enthusiastic. She's got a great attitude, right? The client goes, okay, I'll give it a go, right? So this stylist is really good. Eventually she gets promoted to the most usual. Now I want to talk from the most usual up the luxury and premium. Because if we've got, you'll see from most usual, the luxury price should be about 15% more. Now on £40, 15% is £6 more, so it would be £46. If the person at £46 is only doing the same as the person at 40, will the person at £46 keep the clients? No. The stylist will say, why don't I just go, I'll go and have that stylist there because she's doing the same hairdressing, right? So as we go up from the most usual to luxury and then premium, now if luxury is 46 and premium is going to be 20% more, right? 46, 20% of that is going to be, we're talking about £55, £60, okay? And I know many of you on here are charging 55, 60, some of you, I've seen some price lists, some of you are starting to move towards that £65, £70, right? 61, good. Your premium, if your market is charging 40 and you're 61, you're 78, your premium. Now, we've got to ask ourselves, what's the difference between a BMW 3 Series, which is most usual stroke luxury, and a Bentley? And what are we doing in our hairdressing to make sure, right, that we are not perceived as being most usual BMW, Mercedes, that we're being seen as Bentley, right? You've just launched an £85 haircut. Whoever's going to be charging 85, I hope they're on here, right? Or if they're not, let's make sure they see this on playback, because they need to understand the principle of pricing. They can't just charge £85. They won't be busy, right? So they've got to get the whole the feelings, the experience. I can see people putting it there. We've got to work hard at it, really hard at it. Otherwise, clients will just go to somebody else on a more usual price. So, here we've got five tiers, okay? These actually are off my website, right? Feathers website. So we've got 5 tiers here. Designer is the first level. And can you see the descriptions there? right? So the client understands a little bit about the differences, but people have got to live up to it. So let's read the first one, right? It says these stylists have spent many hours in training, gaining their qualification, and successfully reached the feather's high standard. Okay. At the top there, it says these stylists are industry leaders with years of experience and knowledge in exhibiting their work internationally to the hairdressing world. Now, if those people at the top, new client goes, wow, yeah, I want somebody who's worked internationally and who's exhibited their work. They turn up at the salon, new client, so excited to meet this international hairstylist. And she's having a bad day. She's had a row with her boyfriend. Or the kids are ill. The kids have had chicken pox, right? Or I don't know what's going on. She's just had a baby. And Danielle put there, she can't afford to have a bad day. You're right. When you're at the top of the prices, you can't afford to have a bad day. You can't afford to talk about the kids have got chicken pox, or you've had a row with your boyfriend, or the car broke down, or your holiday got cancelled. You can't talk about those things because the client who's spending that money don't care. She doesn't care. I know you think she does, but she doesn't, right? So we have to think about that, right? So dump your shit in the back before you enter the salon. Yes. So we have to make sure that we leave all that stuff at the door, right? And we only bring good stuff in. Now, the one in the middle, these stylists are advanced hairdressers who are exploring and studying other skills in the hairdressing industry, right? Advanced designer, the one in the middle. That's what everybody in the marketplace, right, is doing, unless we've got, we've got situations where you've got salons with fantastic hairdressers in them who do fantastic things, and they're underpricing themselves. It's the biggest danger we have in salons like mine, is salons where someone opened a salon, they don't know their own worth, they're not brave enough to charge the right price, and it crumbles the whole of the pricing in that area. So, and someone put, that is what I was doing, right? So let's have a look now at promotion criteria. So we understand what it is, how we move through those criteria. And if you're a stylist on here today who has moved through those criteria, I want to remind you what your criteria needs you to do. Because if you're not doing it, you should be on another level. And I'm going to be a bit spicy here, right? I'm going to have a few sharp edges here. So a designer, this is the first level, a designer. Completed qualification and the salon manager has approved the graduation portfolio and the 8 essential steps. So they've done their 8 essential steps, right? They're still practicing, they're still gaining experience, of course. They've done a graduation portfolio and they're qualified. That's how you get on the first level, okay? Now, to get onto the second level, you have to have done this. You have to have uptime is busy time, right? 80% busy, right? With based on 100 clients for a 4-week period, so 25 clients a week, because you're a new stylist and you need more time for services. We get that, right? So, but you need to have been able to build some momentum, right? In recommending. You do a good job, people are going to say, you got to go and see this stylist. She's only young, she's not long qualified, but she's amazing. She only charges £30, right? So the next one, the request rate, 55%. The average bill is the same as the cut and blow dry price, and you have to have got that criteria for 3 consecutive periods. Now, let me just pop back a minute and see what it says about these stylists, creative designers. These stylists have gained valuable experience and education in hairdressing, and their guest return proves this, right? So that's what we're saying about you, right? So And that's what you need to have done to get there. Now, to move to the next level, now remember, advanced designer is the most usual, right? The popular, the most usual price in the town. So you're now really, you're competing with a lot of stylists and the same pricing in the town. So you need 80% busy time, uptime, based on 140 clients per week. A request rate of 65%. You see how the request rate's going up a little bit. Your average bill has got to be the same as your cut and blow dry price. Your care factor has to be 20%, and you have to get that for 3 consecutive 4-week periods. Now, why do we have to have that care factor at 20% at that point? Why does it have to be there? Because that's the level of service that that's the level of service that the client will expect at that point. Means you're doing a good job in pre-booking, reflects the 8 steps, you're doing a full service, the client expectations are higher now, the 8 step. Yeah, we need to see that you're upselling or upgrading, we'll call it. Upgrading, please, not upselling. We don't sell anything to clients they don't want, they don't need, right? So we're upgrading. Yeah, that the standards are kept, that there's some consistency to what we're doing, right? So we can see on the next one, the only thing that really changes is the request rate at 75%, the care factor 25%, and then at the top, let's go to the top. The artistic leader, the uptime 80%, request 75%. The average bill has got to be the same or above the cut and blow dry price. There should be 100 clients pre-booked in the system, right? And a 30% care factor for 3 4-week periods. Now, if that person who gets promoted to there then does not maintain that standard, let's say the care factor slips, right? I don't know what happens. They're not doing what they should do in the salon. They're not doing their 8 essential steps, right? They're discussing things they shouldn't be, talking about a load of old twaddle, whatever they're doing, starts falling. What happens is this. If you're charging £70, the client starts thinking, I don't know why I'm paying £70 for this. She's a nice girl and all that. Are there any receptionists on here? Or salon owners will have it. I have it all the time. Clients who complain, they say, I don't want to get her in trouble. She's a nice girl. But I think, well, she might be a nice girl. She can go and be a nice girl somewhere else. Because you don't want her, client. That's why you're talking to me. If you don't want her, I don't want her. If clients don't want a stylist, I don't want her. Does everybody understand? Right? So client says, I don't want to get her in trouble. She's a nice girl. As soon as somebody says that about somebody, I think she better buck her ideas up quick, or she needs to go and work somewhere else. Okay? So if the receptionist doesn't have faith, do you know what, Marcus? That's the kiss of death for a stylist. If you've got a receptionist who's fielding the calls and hasn't got faith in a stylist, the receptionist will put the clients where they believe the clients will be looked after, right? So it's a really good point you make there. A really very, very good point. Okay. So I now want to talk about engineering pricing. And engineering pricing is something quite specific to a new business normally, right? And if you are part way through a business, it's quite difficult to get onto engineering pricing. But we're going to talk about it today. And we're going to talk about it. And as we talk about it, I'm going to talk about the principle, right? When I did my business degree, this is how you learn to do pricing. Unfortunately, in our industry, it's not how pricing's done very often. And so I'm always quite wary of talking to people about engineering pricing from the beginning, because it's difficult in our industry to put it into place in practice. Let me give you a good reason example and why this has happened. So the engineering pricing, what happens in our industry is this: a new salon opens in town, right? It's normally going to be a hairdresser who has had, their entrepreneurial seizure that I emailed you all about on Monday. If you're on our email list, Passion for Hair email list, and if you're not, then let us know and we'll put you on the list. Okay. So we have the entrepreneurial seizure, and we open a salon. How do we set our pricing? Tell me what happens, guys. You tell me. Yeah, we go around the town. We look at what everyone else is doing, right? We compare. We look at the others, right? And then we say, "I'll set it cheaper because then I'll get all the clients." That's what happens, right? That's called cascade pricing. And unfortunately, our industry is an industry which suffers from cascade pricing. And some businesses break themselves out of that, most of the businesses that are here. But we still are, because the industry suffers with it, we still suffer with it from a customer perception point of view. Okay, so that's the problem. It's also how we also how we most of us would have set our prices in the first place. That's how I set mine in the first place, right? So it's just what we do. So we're going to look at this engineering pricing with the caveat that, number one, this is not how our industry is priced. And with the caveat number two, when we already have prices set in our business, it's very, very difficult to go back and unengineer. And what I don't want to do is go through this with people, right? And people, you're all in despair because your pricing is nowhere near where it should be, right? Because it probably isn't. And that's not any fault of anyone here. It's just the way our industry is, okay? So here's a 5-step guide. The first thing is we calculate the costs. So in other words, each of our services, we say, this is a colour service. It's a root tint. What we'll do, let's get the whiteboard. Erase the whiteboard for me, Deck, would you? So here's what we do. We say, let's use a root tint as an example. So root tint, and there's a reason why I'm using root tint in a minute, because you're all going to start giving me some feedback in a second. So when I do a root tint, on my particular colour line, we use 100ml tubes. They mix 1 to 1.5. So for a root tint, we use 1/4 of a tube. And let's say we pay, we'll keep the numbers round. Let's say we pay £8 for a tube. Our tubes of colour are not £8. I'm doing it this way because I want my brain to work fast. So a tube of colour, 1/4 of a tube for roots. So the tube costs us £2. Okay, £2 for a tube of colour. And then we, oh gosh, Declan will put that right in a second. And then £2 for 1/4 of a tube of colour. Then I need some peroxide. And so if I'm using 1/4 of a tube of colour, it's going to be approximately 40 mils of peroxide. A bottle of peroxide is £5. And so 40 mils of peroxide, 50 mils of peroxide is going to be about, we'll call it 50 pence. I'm not saying it is, okay? Right, just saying that's how much it is. And so that will be and then I shampoo it off, and then I use a conditioner. So we shampoo it off and we use a conditioner, and the price of that is going to be another 50 pence, let's say. And help me out, guys. What else would you need for this service? Shampoo and conditioner. You're going to need a towel, and you're paying 15 pence for your towels, right? So 15 pence for your towel, and then we're going to need a pair of gloves, and you're paying so much for your gloves. How much you're paying for gloves? How much you're paying for gloves? I don't know, just give us let's say 50. Yeah, too much. Passion for Hair haven't put the price of gloves up. I know everybody else has, bastards. I put 20p. I put 50p. So then we add all that up. We say, well, this is how much it's costing to do a root tint, you know, blah blah blah. In terms, someone put electric. Yes, what you do with your with your operating costs, okay, with your operating costs, right, what you do is you work out, these are my operating costs, and this is how much it costs per hour, okay? So that will be your electric, your water, your rent, and what you need to do is work out an hourly charge for your overheads, we'll call them, operating costs, overheads. You work out an hourly charge. Now, a root tint, how long do you take for that service? I know how long we do, but let's see if the consensus, yep, 30 minutes. I think most people are going to say 30. It's a 30-minute appointment. So however you work out your hourly cost, right, per stylist, right, then you will add that to this. So let's say your hourly cost per stylist was I'm just going to pull a number out of the air. Let's say you discovered it was £10, right? You'd put that £10 on there, like so, and you would say then, okay, so this service is costing £13.65. Okay, so total cost £13.65. Then you've got to take into consideration your wages on the time, okay, and you've got to take that into consideration as well, the wages on the time, right? And then you say that's how much the service is costing me, okay. Let me go back there. That's how much. So that's how you calculate the costs, right? You literally sit and think about the costs. Of course, for highlights, you'd have foil and the such like. I don't know why that's still doing that. So you'd have foil and the such like. On different services, you'd have different things. Now, here's something really important to think about. If that is how we do calculate costs, then that's what we have to make sure. If it's a root tint, that is what you use. Now, for an example, going back, are we going to have any root tints? Are we going to have any root tints? No, because a root tint would be ½ an inch of regrowth, right? And it's really important that we understand that. So there won't be any. You can't even if you try and do a root tint, you're going to get a band, right? Your first ½ an inch is going to be a different colour to the other 1 inch that the client's coming with. So it's going to be a challenge for us to get clients to understand that. But it's a great reality. And if we don't, this is a good example of, if we don't address that, that's, you know, and we allow people to go through on a root tint, as it were, we're going to be opening the door and losing money before we even start, right? So 1 is calculate your costs. 2 is we have to consider the time and the expertise. Now, this again is where tiered pricing comes into place, because in tiered pricing, we do allow for the, not just for the time, also the expertise. In other words, if we've got a new stylist who's just on the floor, her time and expertise is worth less than somebody at the top of the price scale, right? That's a very important thing for us to understand that the time and expertise, so we said about there it would be 30 minutes of time, but that and I said, well, let's just put £10, because I then knew, depending on who it is, we bring time and expertise into place. Okay. So the third thing is we add a profit margin. Now, and this is what doesn't happen in our industry at all because of cascade pricing. What happens is we kind of put a price out there and we hope that at the end of it all, there's a little bit of profit left. Okay. And that's unfortunately where cascade pricing doesn't help us. It's where what some of you may want to do, now you've got some time on your hands, you may want to go through this engineering on pricing, and you might want to reverse engineer your pricing, as it were, right? But I'm a little, like I say, I'm a little bit reluctant. I don't want anybody, you know, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as it were, because whilst a lot of us have been putting prices in place, right? You know, we're doing at Feathers, we've put a price increase in place that in some areas means that we're increasing prices by nearly 10%. So whilst, you know, we are doing that, we literally are doing it as adding a percent, right? Which is normally what we do when a business is operating. It's really the only thing you can do, because if you do any more than that, clients start saying, you've just put the prices up 20%. Where did you get that number from? You know, so the last thing is we look at the market, right? And that's or it's the fourth thing. There's a fifth thing. The fourth thing is we look at the marketplace, because you don't want to price yourself out of the marketplace, but you have to realistically look at the marketplace. Like, I have salon owners come to me and they say, I can't put my prices up to £50. I've got a salon 2 doors down and they charge 25. And I say, well, are they really in your competition? Are they really your competition? You know, do you identify with them, what service they're providing, what their salon looks like? Do you identify with that? Because if you do, you've got a problem, right? But if you don't, then people say, well, no, of course not. Well, then that's not the same market. They're not getting the same clients as you, right? In the same way, stylists, we talk about a lot. We talk a lot, you know, I talk to you about a client, you say, would you like my professional recommendation of how to get better results with your hair at home? If a client says to you no, don't worry about it. Just do it a very elegant cut and style for that client. She's not your client, right? Your client is the one who sits there and says, oh, yes, please, because that's the kind of client that you want, right? So when we say look at the marketplace, look at your honest and true competitors. And if you're one of the best salons in your town, you've probably only got, depending on the size of your town, you've probably only got, you know, I don't know, 2, 3, at the most 5 true competitors. The others are not competing at the same level as you. Okay, and then the last one, know your target customer. So that's what I'm talking about when I just said she's not your customer. You might have people in your salon, but they're not really your target customer, right? Now, if you're a bigger salon and you've got a lot of stylists, and I know we've got a lot of bigger salons on here, then you've got a much wider target audience. That's why we have 5 tiers, and the goal, we want to be the least expensive in the town and the most expensive in the town. And then there's no price reason for somebody not to come to you, because if somebody says, well, you know, I don't earn very much money, I want quality, but I can't afford very high price, right? They might charge somebody on one of our lower, choose somebody on one of our lower levels, okay? But if I'm a client, I say, well, I work hard and I've got disposable income and I only want the best, right? This would be me. I only want the best, right? Then that client will go straight to the top stylist. Now, if you've not got the top price in the town, that client's probably maybe not going to come to you, because they're going to go to somebody else who charges the top price. Now, they might go there and not be very happy. You might get them the second time round, you understand? But if you get somebody move into your area who says, I want to find the top hairdresser in the town, they will perceive the top hairdresser in the town being the person who's charging the most money. That's just the way that it works. Whether we like that or not, whether we believe that, That's what happens. So, you know, that's where you have to know your target customer. So, I can see Jill put there, I've redone mine and it was very interesting. And it is. One of the problems you have with doing it is if you do it and you discover that you've got services where your prices are like way out, they're not right. Are you brave enough right now to be able to readjust those prices? Are you brave enough to readjust those prices like way up, as it were? You know, and if you're not, then you do the exercise and then you're driving yourself mad, right? Although you could look at it this way, you could say, well, I'm off track on that price, but I know I'm off track, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a way to get that price back on track, right? So either by driving that price up or by changing that service slightly so we can do it in a different way. You know, and there are ways of doing things. Like, for an example, you know, you could find you've got a service that uses a lot of foil, for an example, right? And you say, well, we're using so much foil on that service, it makes it not viable. You could then change using foil to, you know, finding another way. So, for example, you know, you could use a clay, right? That stops the colour from being able to swell and bleed, right? And that might change the price indication of that particular service. So that is, if we were in most industries, if we were starting from the beginning, this is how we would engineer the price, right? That's how you would set the price. It's probably not the way that many of us started our business. And it's not the way our industry works. Doesn't make it, I'm not saying we shouldn't do this. This is a great principle. I'm just giving that caveat to everybody. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation today. I can see we got some questions. I hope Deck's been able to sort them out from all of the feed there, the chat feed. I don't quite know. Normally what happens is he flashes the questions up in front. So, oh, hang on. I'm sure he's got a plan. Questions. What have you got, Declan? How much do they charge per hour for the servicing? Okay, I think that was a comment that Andy made. About how much do car mechanics charge for servicing our cars. It's a really good question, how much they charge. I mean, they don't tell you. What they do now mostly is they tell you a price for the job, don't they? What profit margin do you aim for? Right now in my businesses, we look for a profit margin of at least 10%. Years ago, we used to have a profit margin of more like 17 to 20%. I'm talking now on professional hairdressing services, okay? And of course, what has changed that is years ago, before, I can't remember the exact year, maybe someone can, but before we had the working time directive, we didn't have 28 days paid holiday. We didn't have minimum wage, living wage. We didn't have pensions. And over the years, it's been very difficult for hairdressing services to keep up with all those extra costs competitively. That's, in my opinion, what makes retail even more important, because it can really make a massive difference to a hairdressing salon's profit at the end of the year. So on services, we look for at least 10% profit. I know there maybe some people want to tell us what they are looking for in terms of their profit. How will you approach your guests with adding additional extras, more colour, more of your time for them to understand and not to feel overwhelmed with all the extras. Okay, so we've personally, I've put the price up. I know some people out there are talking about having surcharges. That's not what we're doing. So we've put the price up. In terms of the using additional products and stuff, we are going to convert the clients to the service they have to have, right? Which will mean, so for a root tint client, it's not a root tint anymore, so it will be a global colour. If it's a client that's, and I saw somebody put up there actually, even if the client's been doing it themselves, because that's what we're going to get. Clients who've been saying, well, I've been doing my roots and I've only got 1/2 an inch of root. But if she's been doing her roots herself, right, there's going to be a question now about how we deal with that. That will still be for us. It'll be at least a global colour, or it might be a colour correction. It depends. But what I'm going to say to everybody, we've been talking about previously on some of our webinars, we've been talking about doing consultations in advance, and this is why I think it's really important to do those consultations. And if you've got Salon IQ, you can do those consultations by email in the first instance, straight from the appointment. If you haven't got Salon IQ, you'll have to find out how you do that on your system. But I think it's really important to do those consultations in advance. We can't let people just turn up for services, book appointments in and just turn up, because of the social distancing we're going to be having to do. You can't have a situation where we're running over on clients. This is going to, and if we have clients turning up and you say, I'm sorry, I can't run over on your service and I can't do that service today, we're going to have a lot of pissed off clients. I feel we all need to be the same for the industry to move forward as professionals. Yeah, well, I've felt like that too, Emma, for over 40 years, but unfortunately that won't happen. There'll always be somebody, just like we've got the secret hairdressing going on right now, right? Or whatever, underground hairdressing, I think they're calling it. If we were all behaving as professionals together, people wouldn't be doing that. But unfortunately, there are people out there who are doing hair in secret, right? Because they think that, they're going to beat the rest of us by doing that. We put our prices up in January. Sorry, just give me 1 sec to move this. But if we do have extra costs, how do we put this price increase up? We let clients know we put the prices up. Okay. Yeah, if you had a price increase in January, my question would be, Alicia, what percentage was that price increase? If it was just a price increase, inflationary, then you probably only put, so you put it up due to VAT 10%. All right. So, and did you tell the clients that you had gone back registered and so you were putting it up? Okay, so people knew. So that price increase, actually, you didn't get, the government did, right? So you didn't even get an increase for, so you didn't even get an increase for inflation. So you definitely should be putting your prices up again. By the time you go back, it would have been 6 months. There'll be lots of people on here. Somebody give Alicia some encouragement that you can put your prices up every 6 months and get away with that. My next question to you, Alicia, is going to be, you see the model that we had there, where I said, what's the most usual price, right? You need to go around and find out what all the salons in your competition are charging. I own the salon, but not a hairdresser, and the staff don't like the prices going up. Yeah, well, the staff are not bothered about the profit at the end of the year. So, and I understand it's interesting that you put there you're not a hairdresser, but you're a salon owner. I know why you've put you're not a hairdresser. I'm going to give Alicia a little bit of one-to-one now. If everybody doesn't mind, you can all watch. So I know why you've put that. I'm not a hairdresser, and that's because the team keep telling you that, right? But you're not a hairdresser, so you don't understand. Is that correct, Alicia? Is that what's happening? Give me some feedback there, right? So, but you are the salon owner and you are the business owner. They don't know business, and so you've got to do this right. Now, there is some conditioning that you have to do to the team, right? And that's what I was doing at the beginning of this webinar. So I hope that's been helpful for you. This webinar will be on our YouTube channel, and so it can be rewatched. Okay, so they want letters to go to all the clients. Is that what? Sorry, my computer's really playing up today. Is that what you said? For all price increases, they want a letter going out for the price increases. Okay, well, you see, when Heinz Baked Beans put the price up or Tesco's put the price up, they don't send you a letter. So no, we're not sending a letter to anybody. By all means, put signs up. In fact, here's what the sign will say, right? And the sign will say this. It will say, in the interest of quality and with a keen desire to remain in business, there will be a price increase, or there has been a price increase, or whatever you want that last bit to say. But the important bit is the sign will say in the salon, in the interest of quality and with a keen desire to remain in business. Okay. Now, anybody of your clients that don't get that and don't buy into that, they're not your client. If your business has only just gone VAT registered, right? I'm gonna take an educated guess that there's probably quite a lot of scope competitively on your prices, right? So you've got to focus on driving up the quality when people come back, and that quality can be perceived in what the stylists are doing. And I don't know, Alicia, were you on the dialogue webinar that we did a few weeks ago? Were you on that one, dialogue? Okay. Well, I'm glad you found us. We've been looking hard. We've been looking hard and long for you, right? So I'm glad you found us. But right, and you can see Michelle, I put exactly what Debbie said, and the clients were fab. So you weren't on the dialogue one. Why was I asking you that? Let me just get my train of thought. Just give me 1 second. A lot goes on in front of me. Why was I telling you that? Because when we go back, there must be no talk about what we did in lockdown, coronavirus. People don't want to hear it. People are coming to us because they want, yes, they want their hair done. But the good part of the good feelings is that hour or that 2 hours of escapism from everyone else, that pampering, that the attention is all on the client. She don't want to hear it. And so we will be running that dialogue one again because it's such an important one. A really, really important one. I'll be running it again. I mean, you can watch it again, but I'm going to run it again live because it is really important. Okay. So thanks. Declan has put the link to the dialogue webinar rerun there too, Alicia. And is anyone doing a PPE charge as an extra if not changing the prices? Okay, is anyone doing a PPE charge as an extra? I'll tell you what I see the problem, Anne, with this, right? Here's how I see the problem. And I've been very careful on the webinars, and I'm looking at how many attendees there are. We've already lost about half the attendees, and I'm happy about that because I'm going to say controversial things now, which I don't say when we're full, when the room's full. The problem with doing this, charging a PPE charge, is you'll have some clients who say, I'll bring my own PPE. You will have that. I've got no doubt in my mind. I think even for those of us that are not charging, you're going to have it. So you might say, well, that's okay. I'm happy with that. And if you are, then that's good. I had a conversation with a salon owner the other day, and I said to them, I can just see it now. Because it's the sort of thing I would do. I'll put my hands up. I'll bring my own gown and towel. It's the sort of thing I would do. right? So now she turns up with a big blue fluffy bath towel, right, that she wants you to put round her, right? And a and a matching hand towel that she wants you to put round her neck, right? Because she knows that this is safe for her, and this is okay, because the comfort of the client is important, right? And if that's how the client feels comfortable, but I mean, us OCD salon owners are going to be like this. You understand what I'm saying? We're going to be, because we're going to look around the salon, how we like it all nice in uniform, right? And there'll be this client sat there with this big fluffy blue towel round. I don't know. Maybe it won't happen. But because it's the sort of thing I would do. I'd think, right, when I go to a spa, I don't use the spa's things. I take my own. That was before all this, so not if she travelled on a bus to get there. Yes, of course, they're all the ones that won't be bothered. So that's why I've decided not to do it. I have a client that does that anyway. She's eccentric. I don't mind being called eccentric. I love it. It's a badge I will wear proudly. So that's why I've decided not to do it. I can just see, what clients are like. Oh no, I don't want you charging me that. I won't wear the mask. I don't know whatever it is. But it's when in my experience, when we try and put extras on, it's so hard. So I've taken it as a good opportunity to put the prices up. And any of my clients that can't accept that the prices have gone up and that we are, having to do a lot of different things. I know that you're all deep cleaning your salons. I've seen loads of you decorating your salons, painting them, etc., etc. I think clients are going to expect it. So I hope that helps, Anne. But everybody's seeing it through the prism of their own beliefs, and unless the government, tell us otherwise. It was a friend of mine that's doing it. You're interested in my opinion? Yeah, I've seen a lot of people say they're doing it this way. That's what I think. But everyone's got to do what's right for their own business, and we will, of course. Okay, are there any more questions there, Deck? We're all caught up. Okay, can you please show us so you can write it down? Okay, there it is, right there, or you can take a screenshot of it if you want to. Yeah, Carly says the price of oil has gone down. Salon, the price of oil, Carly, they were giving barrels of oil away at one point. They've stopped doing that now. But seriously, the price of a barrel of oil was minus. They were paying people to take it away from the refineries where they had an excess of oil, because we're not all using our cars, you see. So it's interesting. Yeah, I've not seen it at 99p, Matt. I hope we do soon. But it was, last time I saw it, was very cheap. Yeah, I go to Tesco, but Tesco's charges different prices, so why don't you drive all the way there, Jill, to fill your car up? No, I'm only joking. I'm joking. Okay, guys. Right, so Friday we will have our first defining moment series. We're going to do a lot of inspiration, right? We're going to, the 1 hour. It's only me that takes 2 hours or more. Sorry. It'll be 1 hour. It'll be inspiring. We're going to have some great people. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you so much. Alicia, we're so pleased that we found you. We've been looking long and hard for you. We have a great community. So join us Friday, everybody. And have a great day. If there's anything you need, you know how to find us. We're here for you. You hear how my phone goes all day and all night, right? And you're all, just bring it on. We love it.